Let's talk about how to forgive and let go. It is one of the hardest things as humans that we get to choose to do if we want to. And when you make that choice to start letting go and forgiving, it seems like it is a massive, arduous task. And it is. And it's a massive, arduous task because we live in this environment. And for a lot of us, we have been raised in families that are not safe, that are not grounded, that are not forgiving. So for a lot of us, we have not learned how to let go and forgive because we were not raised in an environment of people who let go and who forgave. Share with me in the comments. Let me know, were you raised in an environment with parents who forgave you for the mistakes that you made, who made you feel loved and cared for and cherished, even though you made mistakes? Or were you raised in an environment like me where your parents did not forgive? They did not let go. They did not show kindness or compassion when you made mistakes. You were expected to know the solution to the mistakes that you made before you even made the mistakes, so you did not make them in the first place. Do you get what I mean? So what I mean is I see it now. I see it a lot in parents, is that they have this expectation that their kids already know right from wrong. And then when their kids make a mistake, they punish their kid. But in the mind of the kid, if you really think about it, you've got to look at it and say, that kid is saying, but I didn't know. But the parent is acting as if the kid does know. So with my daughter, I realized a long time ago that when she made a mistake, it was usually because I had not shared what was right and what was wrong. And then even when I do share with her what is right and what is wrong, she still makes a mistake. She still makes the same mistake over and over and over again. And then I have to look at myself and go, okay, hang on a minute. How many times have I made the same mistake over and over and over again? I realized that I was not forgiving myself for the mistakes that I was making over and over and over again. And therefore, not forgiving her for the mistakes that she was making over and over and over again. And so I have come up with this tool that was amazing because something happened a couple of weeks ago and she made a mistake. And it was a mistake that she hadn't made before, but I thought that she would have known not to do this thing that she did. After it happened, and I had all of this anger inside of me, I looked at her and I said, did you mean to do it? She said, no. I said, did you do it on purpose? She said, no. I said, did you know that that was going to be the outcome of that action? She said, no. I said, if you could do it again, would you do it exactly the same way? She said, no. And I said, well, there you go. One, you didn't know that this was going to be the outcome. Two, you did not do it on purpose. Three, you would not do it the same way again. I said, so that's it. It's fine. It's all good. I'm not mad. You didn't know. You didn't know. You didn't do it on purpose. And if you could do it again, you would change it. So I'm good. And it was interesting because when I asked her those questions and then I heard it, I went, oh, I'm actually good. And then I started using it on myself because then a couple of hours later, I made a mistake. And my daughter then asked me those questions. And I looked at her and I said, oh, no, I did not do it on purpose. No, I did not know that it was going to happen. No, if I could do it the same way again, I would not do it that way. Did I mean to do it? No, I did not mean to do it. She said, well, there you go. And it's such a simple tool, and they're such simple questions to ask. But when you really come down to it, we hold on to things because we think we should know better. We think our kids should know better. We think our friends should know better. We think our partners should know better. But ultimately, most people, I do not believe, would hurt people on purpose. Most people do it by mistake. They did not know that what they said was going to hurt, or they did not mean for those words to come out of their mouth, or they did not mean to make something your problem. There are so many different ways to look at this, but these are such simple, simple, simple questions that you can ask yourself if they have genuinely made a mistake and they did it on purpose. Even in that instance, it's not a mistake, right? They genuinely took an action that they intended to take and they knew what the result was going to be. That is not a mistake, right? That is an action where they intended harm. And as a parent or as a person, but even if it's a friend or a partner, and you ask them these questions and they go, well, yeah, I did do it on purpose, then you've got to look and go, okay, well, do I want that person as a friend? Do I want that person as a partner? If they're doing something that is really outside of my boundaries, do I want to stay in relationship with this person? There are so many different ways to look at that, and that's an entirely different conversation. This one is about forgiving and letting go. This is about realizing that we as human beings make mistakes. There are things that we do not necessarily know the outcome of that situation. And we assume that this wisdom was there before we made the mistake. But it wasn't, right? That's why you make mistakes, because you do not have the wisdom. But then for some reason, we expect ourselves to have had the wisdom, even though we have not made that mistake. Is this kind of making sense? So when we go through or we have an experience, we take an action. On the other side of that action, we learn a whole series of things. We learn from the mistakes that we made. But for some reason, and I'm pretty sure this is a parenting thing that happened but this is the jumbled up amount of mess that we have going on in our brain. Or we made the mistake and then they punish us for not having the wisdom. So we grow up thinking that we should have the wisdom, but we do not have the wisdom, right? And I think we grow up with this expectation that we will know why we're taking an action. We will know the outcome of that action. But there are quite a few things where you take an action and you cannot know the outcome of that action until you take it. You cannot know that you are making a mistake. But then what happens is on the other side of the mistake, we then pick up a bat and beat ourselves up and go, you should have known, you should have known, you should have known, you should have known. But you got to look and go, but how? How was I supposed to know that this was going to be the outcome to the actions that I'm taking? We say, I should have known. I should have known. What if I'd gone this way? What if I'd gone that way? What if I'd taken this action instead? Then maybe this wouldn't have happened. And you beat yourself up, and we do not forgive ourselves because it is assumed that we should have known the better way, even though we had not walked the path before, even though we did not have the wisdom that we have now. Does this all make sense? It makes sense to that part of me where I sit there and I talk to that part of me that beats myself up for making mistakes when I don't have the wisdom that I had until after I made the mistake. It's like, this is kind of where my brain has been able to take a very big step back and go, okay, let's think about this. And using these questions after I make a mistake, after my daughter makes a mistake, after someone around me makes a mistake, using these questions, even if I cannot ask the person, obviously I can ask my daughter directly, but let's say there's a friendship that's ended and I cannot ask the person directly. and which has happened recently. And then I've looked at that and gone, okay, so when it's somebody that you cannot ask these questions to, you're kind of guessing, right? But you've got to, in some ways, guess a little bit if it's someone that you cannot ask and go, you know what, I don't think they did it on purpose. I think they would do things differently if they could. Just those two questions alone is like, yeah, okay. Did they mean to do it? I don't think so. I don't think they did mean to do it. I don't think they knew that this was going to be the outcome. I do not think that they knew that by doing what they did, it was going to cause a breakdown in the friendship. And you've got to ask yourself these kinds of questions. So then you can kind of go, well, you know what? They probably, if they could do it again differently, they probably would. The issue is we do not ask ourselves these questions. We go out in the world, we take an action, we make a mistake, and then we beat ourselves up for the mistake because we think we should have known how to do it differently so we did not make the mistake, even though we got that wisdom from making the mistake. Does that make sense? Because whenever I've used these questions, it has helped me put everything down. It has helped me put down the bundles and bundles and bundles of mistakes that I have made. I invite you to use these tools, to use this wisdom, to be able to put your stuff down. Make sure after each question you take a moment to take a breath. Did I mean to do it? And then wait for the answer. Did I know that this was going to be the outcome? And then get the answer. If I could do it again, would I do it the same way? They are your 3 questions. Take them, use them, and let me know how you go. And if you are interested in learning about why meditating is not working for you, then click on this video that's popping up right now. Remember to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.